My mom reached out to me a few days ago to share that she'd seen some of my videos online and they kind of surprised her a little bit. So we wanted to get together and record a conversation to talk about what she saw and what she thought. So,
Well, I feel like I learned my son when I watched the videos and almost felt disappointed that I had raised him all those years and didn't realize that his introversion was what felt to me to be as extreme as it was. And it sort of made me feel like I had failed him. Um, so I, um, I guess I'd like to share what I saw and what my reaction was. So my mother-in-law, and I were waiting for delivery, and so we didn't have anything in particular that we needed to do, and so we decided to start looking at some of Jamal's videos. And so the first video was a shorter video and kind of showed him, coming into the camera. And I made a comment to her, I don't like when I see Jamal's videos and he's coming into the camera because that's not who he really is. And I said, what do you think? And she said, oh, I don't know. She said, I feel like I'm seeing a Jamal that I've never seen before. And so we watched that video and went to the next video. The next video was the one, how to
how I stopped having lonely
how to
weekends.
stop having lonely weekends. And actually, I felt like a video where Jamal kind of told his story. And he started from when he was younger and basically being in school. I guess I assumed a good portion of the school year where his classmates had never heard him talk, to the extent where, he would get a comment, I didn't know you could talk. And so it kind of, piqued my interest. And so, long story short, as he went on, I started to realize, wow, he really had a serious um, challenge. And here I'm talking to him every day, interacting, and not recognizing that it was as serious, and feeling like I would have tried to reach out to get help for him had I realized how serious it was. And so after the video, I kind of again said to my mother-in-law, um, what do you think? And she said, well, to tell you the truth, she said, I don't know what to think. She said, because he's never really spoken very much around me. And then that kind of reinforced the whole notion that it was an extreme problem. It never occurred to me that he hadn't spoken around her. And so I called him the next day and the next morning, and I guess wanted to better understand and wanted to apologize. And so I asked him, would he be okay in us doing a video, because I wanted to kind of share our story with other parents so that if they have kids who are what I'm terming, he would never term it this way, but I'm terming extreme introversion, then maybe they can see it and try to get resources or help. But to tell you the truth, I'm still trying to figure out, where did I go wrong? And so I haven't figured out what the advice should be to give to another parent. So,
Yeah, and from my view, I hear the story and wouldn't have looked at it as a problem in the past. I would have looked at it more of just my personality, who I had been. I remember stories from my dad sharing that, when I was a baby, I wouldn't talk to him, and it wasn't until he had some spicy potato chips that I wanted and was trying to grab from him, and he's like, the only way you're gonna get some is if you say something to me, and that's what kind of prompted me to speak up and assured him that I actually could talk and speak, and that I was just kind of choosing not to. And so, like, those stories and plenty of, a lifetime of experiences had kind of taught me that that just wasn't who I was. And I think the idea of even getting help in the past would have been one that turned me away. It would have felt like describing myself as incomplete or having an issue where I didn't quite feel like it was one. And to her point as well, where I would talk more around her. And, I sure viewed myself as an introvert, but I also thought of it as just a bit of shyness, and that it took me a longer time than most people to warm up and to open up. And so around her, my brother, sister, my dad, that I was more open, I was more comfortable, I could speak for longer, I could be, have a wider range of expression. But around people I didn't know as well, it was going to take a while. So I understand her perspective as well, as the side of me that she saw was, I'm sure, quite different than the side that people in the outside world experienced. And the way I saw myself was different, to where I didn't think of it as a problem. I knew that there were kind of consequences that came along with it. I knew that, the idea of certain social settings or environments or being around a lot of people, certain things like that even the idea of it would make me uncomfortable, much less being there and being in it. But again, I just thought of it as kind of, that's not really for me. I think as time has gone on, I feel more like that view helped me to accept where I was, and also in accepting where I was, prevented me from changing for the better. That it took a while for me to get to the point where I thought that I could be different, right? That, again, I just used to view introversion as part of who I was, where now, I evolved and got to the place where it was more, that's who I had been, but didn't necessarily need to be who I was going to be in the future. And so, kind of with that shift internally and shift mentally, then I started thinking more about, okay, well, what could I do to change? What situations could I find or create to where I would feel more comfortable around people? And got me to even kind of look back at the past and think about times where I was around a lot of people and was more social and was more comfortable, and to see it as, okay, I may be introverted overall, but there certainly have been times where I was more extroverted, times where I was more social, times where I was around more people and still comfortable, still open, still having a lot of fun. And so it's not just a permanent thing that's always going to be there, but it's more nuanced than that.
So, in hearing you say that, I wonder, do you feel like there's anything that could have been done differently when you were growing up that would make today a lot easier for you?
Sure, but
What would that have been?
I think so I think certain ideas of seeing the world, that maybe if I had questioned those earlier or thought of them a little bit differently, would have made it easier. But I also feel like one, I'm reminded of Gary Vaynerchuk, watching one of his podcasts, and he asked the question, at what age do you get to stop blaming your parents? At what age is it like you're an adult now, it's your responsibility to change and be different and improve and grow, and you can't look back at your parents anymore. And so, whatever age that is, I think I'm past that. But I think one example that we talked about the other day was the idea that seeing a group of people talking to each other and feeling like, okay, they're talking to each other, and so if I were to come up and try to start a conversation with them, it would be interrupting, right? That I would be kind of taking away from their time with each other, which is what they really want, and that as I've worked to be more social, I've had to kind of confront that belief myself and start to think about what would be a belief that helps me to be more social. And I think one is that, yes, they're talking with each other, but that doesn't mean that me coming up and, engaging in the conversation is necessarily an interruption. It could be me adding to their fun, me adding to their enjoyment, me helping them to be more social, which may be what they want, but are just maybe more comfortable with each other right now. And if I kind of, extend the hand out, then they would gladly grasp it and, want to join in the fun.
Got it. I'm looking at the time. I told him his videos are too long. He doesn't pay me any mind. I love you.
I love you too, Mom.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me do this.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye-bye.